So thank you all for joining me today. It's lovely to see some of your faces. I know many of you, so thank you for coming along today. And what I wanted to do today was give you a brief outline of the intent behind the project that we are looking to do, give you a bit of detail around the timeline of the project, and then just a couple of hints and tips and tricks around putting in an application with AgriFutures, because some of you may not have done it in this RFQ, this request for quotes sphere in the past. So this idea for a national Varroa research strategy started after we had finished a project called Resilient Beekeeping in the Face of Varroa. That was a project that was not looking so much at Varroa in Australia as it stands, but was looking at Varroa in Australia in the context of what we've learnt from overseas. So in particular, what we found was that there were a number of aspects of control of Varroa from overseas that we could learn from, maybe in inverted commas, mistakes that others have made, and how we could be sort of the model for control of Varroa moving into management. And so with that project, we also, to help us become that sort of, best practice, was to develop a list of research gaps that we needed to address to make sure that we had the tools and the results that we needed to make sure that we could be that best practice in terms of control of Varroa. And what that came up with is a list of research topics based on 3 levels of priority. But what the advisory panel found with that list was that it hadn't been really tested with beekeepers, and we didn't know, well, how much was this going to cost? What could the scope of these projects really look like? And then where are we going to go to get the money to fund these research projects? AgriFutures doesn't have the capacity to fund all the projects that were listed as priority and research gaps, so we would need to involve other funding bodies to be able to fund these projects. So what we decided was, after a lot of toing and froing from the advisory panel, was that it was probably a good idea to run a workshop of some sort. And where we got to with that workshop was that it would be a workshop with researchers, which would allow researchers to communicate to other researchers about what they're currently doing around Varroa, but then also it would help us. So are there any of the priorities that we've listed in our topic actually being currently addressed by research? It would also allow us to build out those research topics that we had listed in the priority list, to get an idea of what was required, who could possibly do it, and then a possible funding amount. We also wanted to make sure that these ideas were thoroughly tested with beekeepers. So we wanted to make sure that prominent, influential beekeepers were included as part of the workshop, and then also the funding bodies that were possible. And this could be anyone from Hort Innovation through to DAF, through to, I don't know, Westpac, or I don't know, whoever's like Ween Bee Foundation, whoever's got some philanthropic funds as well that might be interested in supporting this research. So, but also as part of that, we wanted to have some sort of report at the end, which would deliver this national Varroa research strategy. And that would be the full package. Here are all our ideas. These have been road tested and considered by beekeepers. Here's a vague skeleton of what this research could look like, and here's the vague cost of what this could look like. And maybe it comes out to be an $8 million research package, who knows? But we can use that as a prospectus to go to different funding bodies to make a pitch to see if we can get some additional money to fund for Varroa research. And for us, it's really looking at that Varroa research on a national scale. It's not just, New South Wales are dealing with Varroa at the moment, but we understand that there is a high possibility that the rest of the states will be dealing with Varroa within a medium amount of time. So this particular RFQ is all about running the workshop, organising the workshop, facilitating the workshop, and then putting together a report at the end that consolidates everything that we've learnt from the workshop. The workshop in particular will include speakers from any researchers, bee researchers from across Australia, or entomology researchers who are doing work on Varroa and bees associated with Varroa now. So the Resilient Beekeeping in the Face of Varroa project, a researcher from that project might get up and speak. This is what we've done, here's where we're at. It will also then include a really good facilitator who can get the most out of a large group, because we're sort of anticipating that there will be anywhere from 50 to 70 people in the room, to be able to really draw out, okay, so we have this list. What does it mean? Where do we go next? What does this research look like? How much does it cost? And what do beekeepers think? So we really need a great facilitator to be able to draw that out of people. And then we need a good report writer, because we want to, for want of a better term, a white paper, something that is professional, something that has a high quality level that can be used as a prospectus for government, for other RDCs, for private organisations and other philanthropic groups. So that's sort of where we're at the moment, and that's sort of just a brief overview, and there's much more detail on the RFQ, on our website, but I wanted to give you a bit more feel for it, I guess. The other thing is that we're quite keen to get this running as quickly as we possibly can. Those of you who have worked with us in the past will understand that we cannot always be as nimble as we really, really want to be. But I have pushed the timeline as much as I can, but that is always open for discussion. Okay. If you feel that you can't meet the needs within the dates, please include that in your application. Include any thoughts around the dates in your application. And that also goes for the budget. We had a question recently, was the $50,000 indicative budget to include venue hire and associated costs and catering, etc. And that's a yes. But like I said, this is all open for negotiation. Okay. If you feel you can't do it within that budget, please tell me what budget you're going to need and give us an explanation for why. We've based those numbers on a very, very rough estimate. So we are very open to negotiation around that particular aspect. I think that this will be very much a two-way street between whoever is the successful applicant and ourselves, including fortnightly/weekly team meetings to make sure that everything is on track. We are very much open to helping in any way, shape or form, and this would include us taking their responsibility around any communications activities that would be required. So we will happily do all the any email mail outs, any social media required. We'll develop the templates and the tools for all of those. So that is not something that you need to be, I guess, that needs to be part of the package. We also will work with you to provide you with a list of researchers, beekeepers, funding organisations. You're always welcome to add more to that list. But it is important that we get that out at least 6 weeks before the event. There is a possibility that we may have to fund some researchers to attend, and we'll address that on a case-by-case basis. Your budget does not need to include any funding of researchers to attend. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else I can think of off the top of my head. I might open it to questions at the moment, and then I'll probably come up with some more things that I need to talk about at time. Dimity, how can I help you? Lovely to see you today.
Hi, nice to see you. Hey, just really quickly, I've just clicked on the link to go to the RFQ page, and it's saying the link's not working. So I just...
Interesting.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify
I'll just put it in the chat now as well, just in case. But yeah, keep going with your question.
No, I was just going to say, and I may have missed this at the start, and because I'm trying to open, I'll just see if it'll open again. No, it's just saying, oops, that page can't be found.
Okay, I'll address that with our comms team. That's not a problem.
Thank you. No, I just wanted to check whether the structure, and again, this may have been in the RFQ, but I can't look at it now just to clarify it. But so how many of them are there? Because it says national. So how many of the events or workshops are there?
Just the one.
So it's only
just
one.
Going to do the one. And that's why we're going to open it up for funding for researchers, say, for example, from those from Western Australia, but where it's a significant cost to get over. We sort of weighed it up between having it having one or having a number of them, and we, based on the location of a majority of the researchers, we decided just to have the one on the, and our suggestion will be on the East Coast.
Yeah, okay, so you haven't confirmed if you want Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, rural. Have you got a preference for where?
Look, our preference based on where people are is probably either Sydney or Canberra. Yep. But we, again, are very open to negotiation around that. Once we look at the list of researchers, I don't know, we might go to Toowoomba.
Yeah, okay.
They've got Bilson's Fruit Tangle on tap there, so I'm always open to going to Toowoomba.
Okay, good to know. All right, no, I think that's that was all from me, and I'll just obviously have a look when I can see that if it's working. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
And you could always get back to me with any other questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Do we have any more questions? Wow, this is great. I've answered everybody's questions already. Who would think that? I'm just going to open the project plan as well, just to make sure that there's nothing else that we need to discuss as part of it. Oh yes, I think when we talk about the facilitation of the workshop and how we will develop these research projects, for want of a better term, because they're just going to be skeleton-based research projects, we really want that to be like a co-design and a ground-up style. It has to be, we're really looking for research that is thoroughly, heavily supported by the beekeepers and RBIC, the peak industry body, who will also be in the room. It's very important that we give the capacity for researchers to group together from other institutions. If research organisations want to group together, that is absolutely okay. And if we come up with a consortium style of project where there is a number of topics within a project, that is completely okay as well. We're very much open when it comes to what the outcomes in terms of those research projects look like. And I think, like I sort of mentioned, the facilitator needs to be very experienced in driving that project development with a diverse group of people that may have different wants and needs. The facilitator must be willing to learn and be briefed prior to the event. And at the event, they must be involved and ensure that the required outcome is achieved. I think it takes a special sort of person to be able to really get this information out of people. So we're really, like, it's important that in your application you clearly articulate how the facilitator that you're going to use will meet these needs. I think that's it. Oh yeah, I think there's a few bits and pieces that are of probably just of interest at the moment. We want to make sure that each of the research projects or topics or frameworks, whatever we decide they are, actually include awareness raising, adoption and extension. So when we come to really planning the workshop itself and the outcomes you achieve, and sort of the framework that is put in place around the workshop, we'll discuss that in a little bit more detail. And then when it comes to the Varroa strategy itself, we must be able to, within that document, clearly articulate the support from industry. We must really clearly identify the priority of research and the order of those priorities. The research listed must directly relate to the industry priorities and the priorities listed. It must clearly articulate how this research would be completed and hopefully how long it would take. And then the communications, extension, etc. And then an expected cost would be fantastic so that we can have a full prospectus. So it's really going to be a cross between that style of prospectus and white paper. It's going to have to be a bit of a promotional tool as well as an information tool. I think I'm going to pretty much pull it up there. I can't see anything else that I particularly need to inform you of. Are there any more questions? Oh, Kristen, sorry.
No, that's all right. Hi, Annalise. Thanks. That's been really comprehensive and helpful. So thank you.
Right.
Just in regards to you were talking about the cost element.
Yes.
Had you had any thoughts on how you wanted that estimated? Or I use the words estimated versus calculated. Are you looking for a rough rule of thumb? And I guess how did you envisage that? Is that just drawing on people's insight and experience during the workshop, or would you want some actual analysis done post-workshop?
No, just drawing on experience. And so when it comes to the research cost, it just needs to be estimated and roughly estimated. What the sort of outcomes that we want to go have is a promotional tool that we can take to NAB and go, right, to prepare Australia for Varroa, we need $8 million. How much are you going to give us? Sort of thing. So it doesn't need to be, this project is going to cost $365,000, 242 plus in kind. Do you know what I mean? It just could be an estimate. So on the day, it's absolutely fine.
Lovely. Thank you.
Most researchers are pretty good at that too. Some are terrible, but some are pretty good. So should be right. Okay, well, I'll just go quickly through the timing, and because I did just mention before that if this timing didn't work for you. Oh, sorry, we've got another question. Richard.
Yeah, hi, Richard Sims. Sorry, I just come in late. I'm the president of the Australian Queen Bee Breeders Association.
Yeah.
And we've already got a program running and have submitted an application to the Minister for Agriculture in Queensland, who is taking it federally. So this is for a international queen bee breeding program.
Mm-hmm.
How does this slot in to what you're setting up?
Sure. So this research won't be just around breeding. And actually, a majority of this research won't be around breeding because we'll be actually hosting a separate workshop around breeding and what breeding could look like, which will include your group, Richard, and also the Queen Bee group and various other queen bee breeders from across Australia. That's sort of being shepherded, I guess, by the Plan B program, and we're just going to help facilitate that particular workshop, which will be in and around this particular research. this particular workshop. But this workshop itself doesn't have a whole lot about queen bee and bee breeding as such.
Yeah, okay, because like the queen bee breeding part of it's so important, and we're not getting any funding at all. And then you got people like Bryn Jordan, who spent enormous part of her own personal money bringing in the UBO spray. So would AgriFutures be able to help us there somewhere, or?
Maybe, like I said, we'll be running this separate workshop around breeding to understand your needs and requirements and your thoughts around bee breeding to help with the Varroa management. Sorry.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I would absolutely suggest you bring that stuff to the table when we do the associated workshop. I think that will be really interesting to talk about and explore as a way to sort of and why we wanted to sort of have queen bee or bee breeding in general as its own topic of discussion and its own workshop was because it's a big topic, and it's something that there's a number of really invested groups that might not be so interested in, you know, in developing a chemical code of practice, for example, or in a virus survey and things like that, which is the research that needs to be completed.
Yeah, rightio. Okay. So, yeah, we've been at this for 3 years now, trying to develop something. And anyway, but all right then. So,
but Richard,
we'll just say, yeah.
I would highly suggest you give me a call at some other time, and we can actually go through all of this, and I can get your ideas and suggestions from you, so that we make sure that your comments are included and you personally are included as part of the breeding workshop.
Yeah, hope you got a long time.
Right, all the time for a beekeeper, all the time.
All right.
Thank you.
Annalise, I'll talk to you.
Okay, so David says his microphone will not work and can't transfer to another computer. Okay. So he has an issue with the budget and the logistics of inviting 50 people to a workshop without any financial support for their travel and accommodation. Is the workshop to be available to virtual attendees? Is material to be circulated to attendees prior to the workshop to ensure everybody is on the same page? Thanks, David. As I mentioned, there will be financial support for those travelling to the workshop. You would be surprised with the amount of people that won't actually require, or researchers that won't require any financial support. We did decide, like I was just mentioning to Dimity before, that because a majority of them are on the East Coast and are basically within that New South Wales, Canberra, South Australia region, that we will be having the workshop on the East Coast, and anybody outside that who can't fund travel will consider it, but this will be on a case-by-case basis. And yes, there will be material circulated to the attendees prior to the workshop to ensure that everybody is on the same page, and we will develop that material for you. Okay, timing, that's what we were going to talk about next. Okay, so this RFQ will close on the 15th of January. Now, I just wanted to note that will be at 12 noon at Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Excuse me, I've just noted an error on the website. It doesn't have the 12 noon part. So please be very aware of that, because we are in Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. We will close questions on the, oh no, sorry, my apologies. Gosh, I'm getting this all wrong. Scrap that, rub that all out, everybody. So the end of period for the questions is the 15th, Monday, the 15th of January. My apologies. The applications close on Monday, the 22nd. So if you have any questions, please make sure you get those to Mia, whose details are listed on the page, by Monday, the 15th of January. And then we will then hopefully have an applicant chosen and contracted by the 7th of February. Now, for those of you who've worked with us in the past, that's a pretty tight time frame. So I will be dedicating a significant amount of time to contracting this. So I want to make sure that you are really very aware of that I will be really pushing this and basically working full time to get this up and going. And so I'll need you guys on the phone and the email and readily available during that time. So no going on leave from the 15th of January to the 7th of February. Mind you, I'm fine to call you at the beach anyway. That's absolutely fine. So we'll then have your plan will be developed and finalised and an invite list finalised by the 28th of February. Again, that's pretty tight. So we'll be working pretty quick on that. And then we'll have the invites developed and sent by the 5th of March. I wanted to let you know that all our comms team are very aware of this timeline, and they are ready to work with this timeline as well. And then I sort of have that week of the 15th of April sort of put down as the time to have the event. And then the strategy, to have the strategy delivered by the 30th of May, and then we'll close the project by the 30th of June. So think about that. Start thinking now about when you will need the money so that we can get prepped on those milestones and those service agreements for you. I have a whole bunch of another whole page, 2 pages of timelines, but that is definitely for whoever's successful, because I'm not going to bombard you with all those now. I think the only other thing that I wanted to sort of mention to you is that make sure you get onto K2 well in advance of the closing of the questions day, because it's really very important, because K2 can be a beast for some people and can be a little bit tricky to use. So make sure you've got your login details. If you need to get a login for K2, get it now. So get in there, have a look, start up your RFQ application, have a look at the questions. And then my big suggestion is do it all in a Word document external to K2, and then just plop it in. When it comes to attachments, I don't want just the application again as an attachment. Sometimes that's what people do. It's not valuable, okay? The application form is set up in a way to bring you all onto a similar level so that we can assess you easily. So don't just give me another one. But a more detailed budget, a more detailed breakdown of the budget, that's absolutely recommended as an attachment. And any past work you've done, if you've got an example of past work that you've done that would meet these similar requirements, please include that as an attachment. That's very helpful for us. What else? No, don't have that. Make sure you have your spelling and grammar checked before you submit your application. That can really put off certain committee members who will be assessing your application. Also, the budget, it does not need to be 100% accurate at this point. We can definitely enter into negotiations at a later date. If there's something additional that you want to add into the budget, I don't know, a flower arrangement or something like that, or I don't know, please add that in. We can always negotiate at a later date. If you've got options, like, you know, options 1, 2, and 3, when it comes to the budget itself, just put the middle option in, or an option, and then detail that out in an attachment. If any of you are from a research organisation, don't forget that your application will need to be approved by the research office before it is submitted. So make sure you are fully aware of that process. Oh, bye, Dimity. Lovely to see you. This will be online so you can catch up on it later. Yeah, so just if you are from a research organisation that has an admin officer, this application will go to them before it gets submitted to AgriFutures. So make sure you're following up on that, and make sure you give them enough time to do any check that. We cannot give any time extensions around this RFQ. You've seen how tight the timings are, so there will be no extensions. That's probably about it. Most of you have been contracted by AgriFutures before, so you have seen a contract. If you haven't, there is a link where you can contact our legal console and ask for a copy of the service provider or provider agreement from Stephanie Kate. And that's probably about it. Excuse me. Yes, David, those dates will all go on the website. A majority of them are there, but I will add a few extra dates to that. Are there any other questions before we stop recording? Look at you, I've bombarded you all with details. Excellent. All right, well, don't forget, don't hesitate to send me an email. Please get on and open up or sign up to K2 as soon as possible. And yeah, yes, David, I will get the link fixed now. And I thank you all very much for joining me today. And I look forward to reading your applications. Excellent. Thank you.